Mayor de Blasio, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and I just want to ask, can Ebro still be on the show even though he's old now? Is that okay? I mean, that's not like he hasn't lost all his cool factor, has he?
Listen, Mayor, there's a lot of people trying to run me out of here.
We're stuck with the mayor.
The contract says they got to keep me for a few more years, so I'm here.
Okay. Ebro, I support you 100%. Even if you're less cool, I still think you're okay.
Thanks. Listen, my head is bald. I'm balding just like the rest of these old guys, so I guess I get that too.
Mayor de Blasio, you're slightly over 40. You have any 40-plus advice? Ebro's also a new dad. Any 40-plus old man advice for old man Ebro?
No, I don't like the way you phrased that.
Mayor's checking you.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to start cursing now.
Listen, we're live, man. No cursing, man.
That was a provocation. Ebro, just be true to yourself.
That's right.
And go to the gym a lot, brother.
That's what I'm doing.
That's what he's on there.
4 times a week I'm in there.
There you go.
And these young bucks, they coming after me out here. I gotta be careful.
It's true.
So, Mayor de Blasio, today we got a lot to talk about. I know you were at Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn. You guys were having some serious conversations about the failing schools in New York City and how there's a refocus from your administration on figuring out ways to not only finance but uplift these high schools. Can you speak about this program?
Absolutely. We've got 94 schools in this city that we believe are performing at an unacceptable level. And what I've said clearly is we're not going to leave it that way. We're not going to accept the status quo that fails so many of our children. So we're going to turn them upside down. In some cases, it'll be a new principal. In some cases, it'll be a whole group of master teachers that we send into the school to change the culture, change the approach. We're going to add an hour of instruction, an additional instructional period to every school day at these schools. We're going to add health services, including mental health services, to support the kids through the community schools program. We have a host of things we're going to do, and the point is you don't take something that's failed and leave it the same as it's been, but you also, if you just close it, which has been the history in the previous administration, if you just close it without trying to save an institution, in many cases truly beloved in the neighborhood, truly part of the history, and also an institution that can be brought back. If you don't try and save it, you're making a mistake. So we're going to try and save these schools, but if it doesn't work, if they don't turn around, I won't hesitate to close them.
So can we go a step further here? Schools used to get closed when they were failing, and the kids, I remember they would take the buildings, they would turn half of the school and take the performing kids and turn that into a charter school and take the underperforming kids, and they would all be in the same building, right? And then some schools would just close. Is that correct?
I think, variations on what you said, yes.
And so now, adding these services into these schools, is that what we really think the solution is going to be, or do we need to double down here and really figure out ways to incentivize these parents as well? Because the school can't just be, parents can't continue to just ship their kids off to school and expect like that's the end result and we're going to see a positive result from that.
Well, I am still a New York City public school parent myself. I got a few more months until Dante graduates, and so my perspective is very parent-focused. I agree with you. Parents have to be part of it. So one of the things we did in a new teacher contract, every single week, teachers have time that's specifically to talk to parents, to be in touch with parents and make create common ground with parents on how to approach their kid and how to support their kid. The community schools idea involves bringing in parents and community members to support education consistently. So you're right, this is a piece of the equation that got left out previously.
Right.
But I think the answer to the question is you've got a lot of situations where you can turn around a school, but in the past there wasn't a real investment. In my opinion, there wasn't. What would investment look like? Changing the leadership, sending in the best teachers,
right.
The best teachers. Literally, what we're saying is find the very best teachers in the whole school system, pay them extra to go to the schools that are struggling. That's the kind of thing that actually changes the culture and changes the approach. We're going to do all those things. And I think it's going to work in a lot of these schools and improve kids' lives tremendously. By the way, things like pre-K and other things that we're putting in now are also going to help a lot of kids be stronger so that when they get up to the point that they're in middle school, high school, they're going to be in stronger shape to begin with. I think we're going to have a lot fewer struggling schools over time because we're going to make these kind of core investments like early childhood education. But we're going to be all over it. And any school that ultimately does not pass muster, I'll close and I'll come up with a better alternative.
And I would throw in there too this minimum wage issue we've been talking about for a while. I know you're for raising minimum wage.
Yes.
But a lot of these kids go to homes after school where the parents and the adults in these households are not happy with their lives. So that trickles down to the child, and the child takes that to school. And so how are we going to also work on that?
Look, we have a school system. It's an amazing reality in our schools that I think doesn't get enough attention. So many of our kids struggling in households that are economically disadvantaged. So many of our kids who have special needs. 171,000 kids with special needs of one type or another in New York City, in New York City public schools. We've got so many kids for whom English is not their first language, and we're going to help them learn English, obviously. But in the meantime, they're going to be struggling first. That's a lot of different pieces that affect the equation. But you're totally right. We've got a city where 46% of the people are at or near the poverty level because the issue of economic fairness hasn't been addressed in this country. So what I'm trying to do is push wages up, push benefits up, things like paid sick leave that we did last year, in a whole host of ways, improve people's economic circumstance and lower the cost of housing. That's why our affordable housing plan will reach literally 500,000 people, because that's the number one expense by far. You got to raise wages, lower expenses, and then people can actually get to a decent standard of living. Right. And you're right, it has a huge impact on their kids.
Mayor, I know that yesterday you spoke that you actually now had finally seen the video of the McDonald's incident. By the way, being overlooked here is how much people are messing up a delicious restaurant. But
thank you for that deep commentary.
However, when you watched it, I mean, everyone has kind of expressed the same generic outrage, and we are sincerely outraged about it. But from your perspective, were you and your wife truly, was it unlike anything you'd ever seen before, or was it something that you've seen from teenagers before and just continues to be a problem?
I can't say I've never seen it before. I can say that this case was particularly disturbing because, you see this long video and no one intervenes. And there's no sense among the girls themselves of what the limit is, and certainly no one else intervenes. So I think it was troubling on both levels, and it's just troubling humanly, to see someone victimized that way. But it speaks to the fact that there's a lot more work we have to do. I think you're right. Parents have to step up. The school system has to be better, and that's why we're approaching it very fundamentally with a series of reforms. But it's also something in our culture that we've got to get to young people earlier and better. I guarantee you there may be some mental health challenges mixed into this for some of those girls, and we've got to, is something my wife Charlene's very, very focused on, addressing mental health issues much earlier in young people's lives when you can have a bigger impact. So, no, it's not the first time I've seen it, but this was a particularly troubling case.
There's also, at least we've seen on the news today, there's been a couple of more things like this popping up.
Teenage mobs and beat up a guy unconscious on the street in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, like these roving mobs of teenagers. Any reason that you think we're seeing a spike particularly now in this? And also, are you aware that Ebro and I have declared that should we run into one of these situations, as adult men, we will...
Treat it like an adult,
We will fight these children if we need to.
Your high moral standing is why this show has done so well. I think you're off message. I would encourage people not to fight and to involve the NYPD to resolve the situation.
Yes,
but
you're right. Fine.
Yeah.
You're right. Fine.
Yeah.
But here's the point. I think I don't think there's a trend. I think what's happening, of course, with the access to video we all have nowadays, we're seeing some things more clearly that have always been there. In fact, thank God, crime continues to go down in this city. But I do think there's an unaddressed issue of young people, a lot of young people not having a particular sense of hope for their future, and some of their core issues, including, again, mental health issues, not being addressed early enough. So I think this says something to us, but it's not a new problem. I don't think there's roving gangs that are plaguing our neighborhoods in some new way. I think there's a small group of young people who need a lot of help, and our job is to try and get it. And you got to give me a minute to talk about what we're trying to do at the beginning of the process, which is pre-K, because that's when you get kids early and you give them a better education. That really changes the whole trajectory. So can I make my pitch now?
Tell us about the pre-K.
To all the parents out there, and aunts, uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers, family members, the applications for pre-K began yesterday. Last year we had extraordinary success expanding full-day, high-quality pre-K to many, many more families in the city. Now 53,000 kids in full-day pre-K this year. Next school year, starting in September, that number is going to go up close to 70,000. Any child in New York City who wants and needs full-day, high-quality pre-K will get it, but you've got to apply. Applications just started. You can call 311. You can text pre-K, P-R-E-K, to 877-877, or go online, nyc.gov/pre-K, and sign your child up now.
Now, Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I've heard you talk on this pre-K thing several times since you've been in office. I don't understand what the complication is. This would seem like something parents would want. I don't understand why this is like an issue.
I think it is, first of all, parents don't know the availability because historically it was very, very limited.
Got it.
And a lot of it was only half day, which didn't work with parent schedules. So now we have full day, and it's high quality, and it's universally available. Second, there are some parents who think, and I don't blame them, I'm a parent too, every parent has a right to their own view, I'll keep my child home, or my child will stay with their aunt during the day, or something that's understandable and fine, but it's not the same thing as giving the child a real immersion in the kind of education they're going to need for their future. At the age of 4, a child's brain is able to develop very powerfully, and if you give them a strong educational foundation, it will serve them the rest of their life. So I think some parents need to hear what an opportunity it is for their child. So there's still a piece we have to get across more squarely, but I'm saying to all parents, get in that application so you can get a seat for your child, and it will make a world of difference for your child's future.
Mr. de Blasio, I see you're skipping the St. Patrick's Day parade over its LGBT policies. Can you talk about that?
I can, and then I'm going to have to jump off in just a moment. I apologize. Yes, because I think we need an inclusive parade. I think as part of New York City's values, to be open to all. There was some progress this year. The parade committee, it's a private group. They agreed one delegation. They agreed for one delegation from NBC to participate with LGBT members of it. But we want a parade where if someone's LGBT and they want to celebrate Irish heritage, they should have a right like anyone else. In Boston, for the first time in a while, they had their parade this weekend. It was open to all. In Dublin, the parade is open to all. It's trying to be open to all.
Listen, if Dublin could do, I mean, what are we doing?
Listen, if we're behind Boston in terms of being progressive, we've got issues. Mayor, have you heard the Kendrick Lamar album?
Wait.
Cannot tell a lie. I have not.
All right, you need to sit down with your son. Don't you think Ebro?
Dante probably has.
No, you don't think the mayor and his wife of all people will appreciate the political tone of this album? You should listen to it, Mayor.
Well, I thank you for the tip, and I just think it's so impressive that even though he's old now, Ebro is still up to date with pop culture.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, there's two ways to look at that, Mayor. There's either I have never grown up, which is more likely than the fact that I'm getting older. Because the problem is I need to pull my pants up and I need to change my clothes and act my age.
I'm damn right about that.
That's what's going on out here, man. Give it up for Mayor de Blasio.
Mayor de Blasio.
Thank
Thanks, Mayor.
Have a great one, man. Thank you for
too.
always participating in the program.
My honor. Take care.